Welcome to the Million Dollar Coach Business Podcast, a show for coaches who are ready to up-level their business and take their impact, leadership, and results to $1 million level and beyond. If you're ready to break through your limitations and start taking powerful action and become the seven-figure version of you that your business needs in order to grow, scale, and thrive, this show is for you. I'm your host, Amanda Karlstad, master coach, high-level business mentor and advisor, master intuitive, and business growth and scaling expert. Let's get down to business. You are listening to the Million Dollar Coach Business Podcast with Amanda Karlstad, episode number 286. Hello and welcome, everyone. I hope you're doing fantastic. I am doing great. We are starting the transition into spring. It's hard to believe we're already officially into quarter two of this year. And I don't know about you, but quarter one just flew by. I have been doing some very, very deep work that I'm really excited about. And I'm really excited to be sharing more with you on that. And with that work, there have been some big things I've been working on behind the scenes that I really believe are going to change the game, not only for our clients, but I really believe in the industry. And so I'm really excited about the work that is happening. And it's really been the culmination of my career, of my years in my own business, the culmination of my career in my career before launching my practice and really working in startup environments and building, growing, scaling, leading multi-million dollar organizations, 8-figure organizations, actually. And to be honest, it's a whole new level. It's a new level that I am allowing myself to step into, and it's just going to take everything to a new level. So I'm really, really excited about this. And truthfully, I'm really excited for all of you who are with me, who actively choose to step into your next level. And it really is a wonderful time to do this work. And it's been a really transformational time for me over the past couple of months, especially. And the deep work that I've been doing has been really, really expansive. And I'll be sharing more on that soon. So with that, let's dive into today's episode. So today I want to talk to you all about the different stages that you will go through as a coach. And as you move through those different stages, as you grow your practice, the different challenges that you will also face as you're in that process. So as you hit different milestones in your business, as you are on your growth and scaling journey, on your way to becoming a high earning coach, on your way to becoming $1 million coach. And these are really, really important to understand. So my intention with this episode is to lay this out for you, to normalize this for you so that when you are in it, or let's face it, if you are in it right now, which I know no matter where you're at in your business, I know that in some way, in some fashion, you are in it. You are in it in some way right now. And that might look like maybe you've reached a plateau in your business, or maybe you hit a new challenge, or you've hit a road bump and it feels like you're just not able to break through. Maybe you are in a place where because you've said yes to your next level, it's also at the same time requiring you to become a beginner in some ways and to develop and learn a whole new set of skills. How to do things, for example, like how to hire, how to manage a team. We have, clients going through that at the moment. So there's a lot of different ways that this can look. It could look like maybe you're having to make changes to your offers, or maybe how you have been marketing your business. The truth is, though, is that in some way, if you're actively growing your business, you are in it. And what I want you to know is that whatever it is that you're feeling, whatever it is that you are experiencing, I will tell you that it is part of the process. It is part of what I believe and what I have learned over the years is part of your curriculum. It's the curriculum that you need in order for you to go to your next level. So with that, I want to give you some perspective, and I want to give you, along with that perspective, some real tangible advice and give you some real tangible things to be considering. That either if you're in it right now and you're experiencing what it is that I'm describing, or as you can foresee, as you're stepping into your next level, you can foresee what's coming next, that in your journey, I want to be able to empower you. And I want to be able to give you this perspective that I think is really, really important and might just be the thing that you need to hear. All right. So I want to start out by saying that if you are newer in your journey, so if you're in the process right now of trying to establish yourself, one of the most important things that you can be doing at this point is to be gaining as much experience as you can. It is to be coaching, to be working with ideally your most ideal clients so that you can really start to establish a strong foundation of real coaching experience and really start to identify as best as you can who it is that you help and what you help them achieve, and really start to build out what I call your signature methodology, which is really the foundation of your coaching program. And you want to do this so that as you start to scale, as your business grows, this really becomes part of that foundation that I talk about. So one of the most important things that you can do if you're working to establish yourself, so to give you kind of a dollar figure of this, if you're under, that 10K a month mark, or, under that 6 figures in revenue, maybe you're even just, launching for the first time, whatever that is, what's important is that you choose a niche. You choose a niche that is actively looking to solve, and what I would recommend, an expensive problem. That is somebody who is already in the process. That is an audience that is already in the process of ideally solving the problem. And some advice here, and this is a nuance, but if you can choose a niche that is already aware of or is open to coaching, has some awareness, and with that also has the means to invest, that is going to be really, really important as you continue to grow. So one of the most important decisions that you can make as you're working to establish yourself is actually who you work with. It's how you work with them. It's the result that you help them achieve. And my friends, please hear me on this. The result that you help your clients achieve has to be important enough for them, and the more urgency they have to solve it, the better. And the more painful it is if they don't solve it, the better. All of this is key. So who you choose to work with, what you choose to help them solve is very, very important at this stage of business. And it also, please, please, please hear me on this, they also must be able to invest in coaching. So one of the most important decisions you can make at this stage is who you help, what you help them with, and make sure that they have the means to invest in coaching. Okay, so let's go to the next level. Let's assume that you've done that. And once you have further established yourself, once you've reached that 6-figure level, typically I see this at that 100K per year level, and really all the way to 200, 250, 300K in some cases. What happens is, and I've talked about this before on the podcast, but what happens is that typically at this stage, you are going to reach some sort of plateau in your business. And it's going to become very obvious to you that what got you to 300K or what got you to 200K, whatever it was that got you to that level, is not going to be what gets you to your next level. And what happens is it becomes a situation that in a lot of cases where there's a few things happening that are important to understand. when you get to a level like this, typically, and again, this is a generalization, but this I have found to be pretty much universally true, your time will be very limited at this stage in your business, where in general, you have a much heavier load of clients. You maybe have a full roster of clients at this point. And so what that means is that your time is actually very limited. So the first thing that we need to do at this stage is we need to start leveraging your time. And how we do that is we have to start leveraging systems in your business. You may even need to start building out a different support structure in your business in terms of your team. So depending on what your delivery looks like, the level of support that you have at this level in your business becomes very, very important. And one of the things that I see happen really, again, across the board is at this stage of business, there is going to need to be some refinement happening. That tends to be, for example, it might need to be a tweak in how you are delivering your program. Or, for example, maybe you've been delivering your coaching on a one-on-one basis. It might then mean moving that into a group program. Or you might be at the place where you already have a group program. And I see this happen very, very often. We have a lot of clients that come to us at this place where you're already running a group program, but you're bumping up against the fact that you have maybe ran your program, for example, on a cohort basis, where now you are really wanting to transition into more of an evergreen format where you can really be bringing in clients in at any time. There's a lot of different ways that this can look at this level, but overall, one of the biggest challenges here that I have found with our clients is that it's going to require refinement. It's going to require some level of tweaking. And it might even be in your niche at this stage. It might even be in who it is your ideal client. So in a lot of cases, it's about getting even more specific to who it is that you're really serving. And in many cases, and we've also helped a lot of our clients expand their target audiences at this point, it might be, hey, let's actually open this up. Let's actually take this to a broader audience. But again, this is going to be very nuanced depending on your business, depending on your goals, depending on your offer, depending on the audience that you are working with. But no matter what, at this stage, it's really about stepping into the next evolution of the business and starting to put in place some things that will actually allow you to scale to that 7-figure mark and beyond. So a big part of this level is creating and implementing systems in the business. And what I will say here, just on a side note, is that I find this to be a pretty challenging time in business. It feels kind of emotionally challenging. And the reason is because this is where we, in a lot of cases, kind of have to slow down in order to speed up, where we have to really kind of look at all of the pieces and decide what stays and what needs to go. And that can be very, very challenging. It can feel very, very difficult. And there's also this sense that I have found at this stage where when you have reached a certain level of success, let's say you've reached, that 250,000, 300K, maybe even $500,000 mark in your business, it also feels like letting go. It's a very hard thing to let go of something that perhaps maybe has generated several hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue. That's a very, very scary thing to do. So this is a highly emotional phase of business when you're in this place. And again, this is where we do a lot of our work with our clients, but it's so, so very important that we start to put systems in place and make these decisions in the business. And I will say that I find sometimes the word systems can mean very different things to very different people, and it also depends on context. So I want to explain this for a moment. So when you are scaling a coaching business, there are a number of systems that are generally needed to truly scale. So one of the things that we work a lot with our clients on is creating and installing these systems so that the systems growth is possible for them. And there are systems that are generally needed in different parts of the business. So for example, one of the main systems that we tend to help our clients create and install into their business is a robust marketing system. Now, that generally looks different from business to business because, again, it's going to be based around the type of offer that you have, around what it is that you're selling, taking into consideration even your strengths, the assets that you have. There's a lot of different considerations here. And we also want to take into consideration your strength as a coach. So the overall positioning in the marketplace, there are a lot of different things that we want to be looking at here. But at the end of the day, any business is going to need some type of robust marketing system that is in place. And this could range from a marketing system that is, for example, built around a webinar, or perhaps maybe a workshop or a masterclass. This could be a paid workshop. It could be a paid masterclass. It might be live. It might be automated. There's a lot of different ways to do this. Even challenges can be a great way to do this. So we help our clients with all of these different types of marketing systems, but that is just one example of when I say systems, what I'm talking about. But it's a very important system in the business, and it's the system that really serves the marketing component of the business. Another example of a system would be your delivery systems. So when I say delivery systems, this is how you actually deliver your coaching to your clients. So for example, when somebody joins your program, I want you to consider, do you have a system in place that ideally is automated, at least to a degree, so that when somebody joins your program, they can start to move through a very clear onboarding process. And again, this will look different for different businesses, and typically this will come into play when you've transitioned fully into group coaching. But even if you're working with clients on a one-on-one basis, I would highly recommend that you have some sort of process that your clients receive that automatically goes out to them, that starts the onboarding process, which is, again, another example of a delivery system in your business. So typically the coaches that we work with who are more established, typically there is some sort of curriculum component that exists in the business. And what I mean by this is, let's say, for example, that you help clients in the realm of relationships. So let's say that you are a relationship coach or a marriage coach, and you help your clients better or fix their marriages. And typically this can work really well with this type of offer, is that you have some type of curriculum, you have your process, your methodology that you take your clients through, that you coach your clients through, no matter what their situation is. And this process, this methodology is what is going to help them achieve the result of bettering or fixing their marriage. Now, another side note on this is just an example. If you were my client and this was, your messaging, I would probably consult you on this. We would actually work on your messaging and make it much more compelling. But I want to just give you a very simple example here as a, marriage coach, for example, how this would actually look. So you're going to have, and this is what I would say to each and every one of you, you have to really know what your process is. You have to be able to articulate what your unique approach is, the work that you do with your clients. And chances are, if you've been coaching for any period of time, which, to reach this level of success in your business, you're going to have some, coaching hours under your belt, so to speak, so that you really understand what that process is. And whether or not it's fully fleshed out or not, the truth is that you already have probably what you need to really create that curriculum aspect of it, to really help build out that delivery system. And some of you might already have it in a recorded format. You might have lessons, you might have trainings, you might have supporting materials. Essentially, you might have some type of course that you deliver, that you are maybe doing some coaching above and beyond that. But at the end of the day, you want to be able to walk your clients through a very specific process. So in terms of your delivery system, this process and how you do that will become increasingly more important. So it's very, very important that if you are really looking to scale, that you have a strong delivery system in place. And, just to give you kind of a visual here, if you can think about maybe right now you have, 5, 10, maybe 20 clients in your group. One of the things that you want to be looking at is really with your current system, with the current delivery process that you have, are you able to truly support 100 clients or 500 clients, or let's go to even 1,000 clients in the program? This is a very, very powerful question that I would highly recommend that you ask yourself and honestly answer, because one of the things that I know to be true is that for most clients who come to work with us that are established, who've already hit that multi-six-figure level in their business, inevitably we're having to tweak or make some changes to their actual delivery so that we're actually creating a container that is truly able to scale. So this is a really, really important element, and it's something that is important for you to be looking at, especially when you've reached that level in your business. So this would be another example of a system, quote unquote, that you will need to have in order to truly scale. So at this stage of business, when you've reached that multi-six-figure level, this is where systems will become critical. And this is why this is something that we help all of our clients create and install into their businesses at this stage of growth. The other really important element at this stage to look at and to be working on is your marketing and sales process. And this I would also define as a system as well. But one of the things that I see over and over and over again, and I see this almost with every client that we work with, is that for most coaches, they're able to really grow their business to that multi-six-figure level, a lot of times organically. And this will look like word of mouth. This could look like leveraging social media. This could be maybe you have a podcast or a YouTube channel that you are able to organically attract leads and sales into the business through the content that you are putting out into the world. There's a number of ways, and there's kind of a number of ways that this can kind of mix, that this can really make up the business, right? This can make up the leads and the sales in the business. The problem is, however, and the challenge comes in, is that when you have done this in your business, when you've grown your business to this level, is that you also have very little control over your growth when you operate this way. And it's not to say that this way can't work. I know many, many coaches who are able to reach a good level of success in their business. It can definitely work to a certain degree. And what also is available is, if you want to truly go to that $1 million level and beyond, one of the most important skills that you can learn, one of the most important things that you can be focusing on, one of the most important things that you can do is to build a repeatable marketing and sales system where you have more control over the volume of leads that you're generating on a weekly and monthly basis, where based on those leads, you also have a very repeatable process where you are essentially controlling to a very large degree the volume of sales that you get each month. This is very, very important. And what I want to say here is that oftentimes, if you have grown your business organically, so typically what quote unquote worked, I'm putting that in air quotes, worked with your warm audience, with those who know, like, and trust you, will actually require a bit of a different approach to the colder audience who doesn't have that know, like, and trust factor. And this is especially true in the macro environment that we're in currently, especially given how buyer behavior has evolved over the past couple of years. And if you want to hear more about that, I recommend that you go back, listen to I've got a couple of previous recent episodes on this where I talked in depth about that. But what I will say, and what I firmly believe is this: once you get this figured out, once you figure this out in your business, once you get your marketing and sales systems working, that is when you can truly start the scale process. Because when you get this right, when you can learn how to market and sell, and I truly believe this is when becoming $1 million coach becomes inevitable. This is when you have built up the skills and the capacity to lead your business to a seven-figure level and beyond. This is why this is so important. And the next phase is, once you've figured all of the things out that we just talked about, this is when you move into the next phase of scale, which is where your team comes into play. And so as you grow and as you help more and more clients, what becomes a priority at this stage is your team. And it's who you have supporting you in your business. And depending on what your program or your offer looks like, it's also going to come down to who is helping to deliver this product to your clients as well. So for our clients who are at this stage in their growth journey, this is something that we are really in the weeds with them on. This is something that we are helping them with day in and day out, with things like hiring, with identifying who it is that they even need to have on their team. What does that structure need to look like? How do they effectively manage that team? How do they really lead that team? All the different facets of building a team, which is why I will say that for most coaches, and it's not every coach, but for many, many of the coaches that we work with, this also is a challenging phase of business. And it's challenging because a lot of times these are new skills. These are new skills that the coach is needing to learn. And so having the support, having the space to really talk these things out, to get that advice, especially when you're at this stage of business, is so, so vitally important, because your team will become more and more important as you scale. And so with that, your leadership must also grow. You must also grow your capacity to lead, which is one of the things that we do very, very well. So quite frankly, at all of the stages that I've laid out here, it is so vital that you're growing your leadership. It's helping you. We love helping you to become the leader your business needs you to be. So I know I've covered a lot of ground here. I know I've given you a lot of examples here. I've laid out some really tangible pieces here for all of you, no matter where you're at in your journey. So my intention is that if you're able to identify which phase you're in right now, based on that phase, also what your focus should be. Because when you can focus wholeheartedly on the right thing at the right time in your business, which is very, very important. I want to repeat that. You need to be focusing on the right things at the right time in your business. My friends, this is where everything can change. All right, you all, have a beautiful, amazing week. I'll talk to you all again very soon. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to this episode of the $1 Million Coach Business Podcast. If you're ready to step into the $1 million version of yourself and scale your business to 6, multi-6, or 7 figures and beyond, go to amandakarlstadcoaching.com.